We're coming in now with Andy Kindy from KETV. Andy, how you doing? What did you think about last week's game?
Last week's game?
Yeah.
I thought it was disappointing, but I think, what we've seen from this team in the past, I thought they hung in there. I thought that they looked like they belonged, which I think is progress. I think that when listening to Coach Rule on Monday, I thought the message was clear. Like, don't overreact.
Yeah.
He acknowledges that they have to fix some things. But I thought that Michigan's a pretty good team. I thought that their pass rush was a little better than I had thought. And they got some future NFL guys on the edge. And I thought that was a little too much for Nebraska's tackles to handle. And I think that they'll get better from it. But I think leaving, that was one that they could have had. And I think, but it's a far cry from where they were a couple years ago.
Andy, are you surprised with the narrative after a game like that performance? You look at the stat sheet, and if Nebraska would have won that football game, I don't think Dillon gets some of the negative noise. But even though you lose by 3 and people want to point fingers and all these things, he was single-handedly in that. Nebraska was in that game because of him, his performance in general, and just dealing with that noise going forward the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at the noise.
I am too.
Yeah, aren't you? Targeted towards Dillon? Because Dillon's one of the big reasons why Nebraska has been so successful. He's having a heck of a start to the season. I think he's playing at a very high level. I don't really understand why he gets the negativity online that he does. I think part of it has to do is because he's out there, because it's the Mahomes stuff, and I understand it's just such low-hanging fruit for people on social media to go pick at him. But I'm telling you, I think what we saw from this game is that they're going to have to rely on his arm quite a bit coming forward, because obviously they did not establish the run, and I think that's just going to keep coming back to haunt them in weeks to come, because you're going to need some kind of running game. And if you want to say short pass game, substituting for the running game, you're going to have to do some of that, because what they did Saturday, I think other teams are going to look and say, okay, this is what we can do to Nebraska moving forward. But I don't understand the whole negativity towards Dillon, because I think he's been terrific so far.
When you're talking about kind of handling the presser and some of the questions, I actually like coaching, because I know it's been asked to me, like position guys, who I want, and the questions come from my head coach, and he kind of gives me the autonomy to make those decisions. Did you have any problems, or kind of how'd you read when Coach Rule was talking about the second running back? Because Mekhi had to sit the previous 2 weeks. Ives needed a chance after missing 4 weeks. Mosey's not quite ready yet. Did you look at that as, hey, get a guy ready, or did you take it at face value? Because he prefaced the whole question by saying, hey, I know I got to be careful as the head coach how this is going to sound. And he put it out there anyway. I don't know. I was okay with that.
I was too, and I respect the fact that he is transparent with us to a point. Like, I don't really understand why Mekhi Nelson wasn't available the week prior.
Yeah.
So that's a valid question. And that's cool if they want to keep that stuff in-house. Understood. But the fact that Quentin Ives was effective the week prior and then doesn't see much action, I think he went to say, hey, it was more package presentation, that Nelson and Mosey were in more packages against Michigan. But I thought it was pretty telling that he says, hey, I told our coaches, you guys got to figure this out. Yeah. You have to figure out who's number 2, who's going to be the number 2 running back moving forward, because Emmett, as good as he has played at times this year, no one can handle that type of load in a Big Ten conference.
He's taking some shots.
Yeah. Going back to the press conference, another thing they talked about was people were asking him kind of about going out and getting a running back on the offseason or some other positions, and he talked about the money and how much money's being spent. Are you surprised that Nebraska doesn't have that much money? It seems like I'm surprised. I think there's a lot of money here. There's a lot of money being donated.
I think that had to be taken with the notion that I think they were trying to be fiscally responsible, knowing that they were going to try to stay in the parameters. Damon's nodding his head. Am I going right down the right road?
We all have budgets.
That is 100% correct. And he, I don't understand that, because Coach Rule even said this was in a different conversation, because I was down there on a visit with Marty. And the numbers were getting astronomical, and he called at night and he said, what are we even doing, right? Like this, I'm not going to live with myself at the end of the day. The numbers just don't fit. And I think you want your head coach being fiscally savvy. Because as much as I love Marty Brown, I'm not lamenting over 49 carries for 206 yards or whatever he's got at Miami, right?
TDs, yeah.
So I don't want people spending money willy-nilly and on a hope and a prayer. Like it was the conversations were getting out of hand.
Yeah, and don't you just because you pay for a guy doesn't mean he's going to be productive.
Oh, sure.
I don't think you have to look very far on this roster and say, hey, we're paying this guy X, and of course we don't know what these guys are making per se down to the dollar, but you know that a left tackle is making X or around in this neighborhood, and if this guy's not even playing, then that's the other discussion. The other thing that I find interesting in this new age of college football is that before, and DB and Jay, you guys can speak on this, I think media members and maybe fans to a point were a little more forgiving, like, hey, it's college
kids.
They're amateurs. But now you throw money out there and you say, hey, this guy's getting paid X, Y, Z, which fair or not fair, that's the world we're living in these days. And that's just a tough thing for these kids, and they are kids, to handle.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to that in general because I was fired from the NFL because I wasn't producing enough.
Right.
As was I.
Yeah. So like, that's the interesting aspect of just giving these kids, these young men, money with higher expectations. I think they already have plenty of expectations coming in as a recruit. We prop them up so high, but now they're given a substantial amount of money with multiple commas, and they think now they should perform to that level as well. Maybe not. But yeah, it's a difficult mental challenge to handle for everybody, right?
Yeah.
The expectations are raised, and that's fair.
Yeah.
That's totally fair
Yep.
in my opinion. But we see it in all levels of professional sports.
Yep. And I think that's where we circle back to the Dillon conversation, where again, we don't know what he's making, but he's making a substantial sum of money, and if people say, oh, okay, he's making this money, he should be doing X, Y, and Z. I still go back, look at his numbers.
Yeah.
He's playing at a phenomenal clip and at elite level.
Yeah, if you take his analytic numbers, he's a top 5 quarterback.
100%.
And not in the Big Ten, in the country.
Nationally.
Actually, look at everything.
Yep.
What about offensive tackle? What do you think they end up doing there?
That's a good question. And Coach Rule talked about it on Monday about, hey, they're going to have to address, they're going to have to look at it hard. I mean, Gatula, I don't even know anything about football compared to you guys, but I could tell that guys were running past both tackles. We got to do something. They have to do something about that. And whether that means switching up to Pritchett or switching up to even give Corcoran a chance over there, they're going to have to figure that out because that's going to continue to be a problem. How wide were those defensive ends, too? I mean, they were lining
9.
up.
Yeah.
I mean,
They were wide 9.
you tried to get your splits out there.
Yeah.
They were just running past you. So it was almost like a track meet for those guys. It was alarming to see how big of a pass rush and how effective they were getting home.
With that performance, as you saw with the inability to protect Dillon, inability to run the football at certain times, and obviously the big plays given up on the run game defensively, does that skew how you kind of project this team the rest of the season? Or you're like, hey, I'm not alarmed, I'm not too concerned, there's a lot of football, bye weeks yet to get this thing fixed?
I think there's a lot of football. It does open your eyes, though. And I think this stretch of 4 games, this middle 4, is so important to the end game of your season.
Yeah.
This is 4 gettable games, winnable games, also losable games. That's the thing. And remember when Coach Rule would say, hey, these games are going to come down, last possession in the offseason. You're like, come on, Coach. Like, in your head, I'm like, Coach, come on. There's no way. After seeing Saturday, I get the sense that most of these games are going to come down to that one possession. But these the middle 4 right here are the 4 games you could and should get at least on paper.
Yeah, that trip to Minnesota, we always talk about how difficult that is. It's a short week. I don't even know what UCLA is going to have by the time Nebraska gets there.
And who's going to be.
Because those guys may all decide.
And what they're playing for.
Exactly. So
Right.
you have that. You got Northwestern in the top.
Right.
There's a lot of games to win on the schedule.
Yep.
So, what is your prediction? Where are you now? Where
Well,
were you?
I
Where
said
are you gonna
9-3 going in, and
Plenty of room.
I think I'm going to stick with it because if they get these middle four, if they can slay a dragon and go up to Minnesota 2 and win on a short week.
Yes.
And I'm really not that impressed with Maryland, even though what they did in Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's very, very down this year. So you take care of business in this middle four, then you just take your chances with your last four. And there's going to be some coin flip games. I think Iowa can go either way. And then you take your chances. Maybe you steal one that you're not supposed to win because all great teams usually can pull one of those games off, and maybe that's out there. Maybe that's the USC game, or you never know what happens in Happy Valley.